here, the Frugal Crafter, with a really fun project for you today. Don't these kind of look like stained glass? Aren't they fantastic? Well, guess what? They're made from acrylic paint, hot glue, and cardboard, and some tinfoil or aluminum tape if you have it. It's really fun and easy, and we start off with basic acrylic skins. I'm going to show you how to make those today, and then how to make these cute little charms that you can use for pendants or earrings. I'm also going to show you how to make these cool little acrylic skin beads. Super fun, super easy, and super frugal, which I know that's why you're here, right? A bunch of frugal stuff. Okay, so these are some acrylic skins I made. So basically it's like a thin sheet of flexible acrylic paint glue mix type stuff. This is one I made out of the scraps. It's not completely dry yet, but I just took a bunch of the scraps left over from yesterday's project and kind of plopped them in a puddle of glue and just see what would happen. And I want to show you the inspiration. I was cleaning my craft room and I found a lot of mosaic supplies, including this jar of magic medium. And it's like a gel medium, basically. You mix with acrylic paint, and that's how I made this and this and this. And then I thought, I wonder if this would work with Mod Podge. So I grabbed my Glossy Mod Podge and my paint, and I made this one. So yes, it totally works just as well. So that's what I'm going to show you today, because I let my daughter use the rest of my magic medium. And it's super easy. What you're going to want is either a piece of wax paper to protect your work surface, or a silicone mat if you have one. And then you're going to need some acrylic paint, some Mod Podge, a cup, and a stir stick. Start by pouring some of your Mod Podge into your cup, and I buy Mod Podge by the gallon, so this is perfect for me. I think probably any PVA glue would work, like maybe like anything that dries clear. That's the important thing. You want it to dry clear. I'm also going to wipe off my cap so that I don't end up gluing my my cap permanently on my Mod Podge. I buy the gallons and I decant it into my smaller container, by the way. Alright, then you just want any sort of craft paint. You want to put you can put as much or as little as you want, depending on how translucent you want your acrylic skins to be. Again, wipe off the cap. These are just those 21-cent bottles I got on sale. So nothing fancy for this. I'm going to give that a drop or two of orange. And a couple drops of yellow. So again, more paint, the more opaque it will be. And I did notice that it doesn't, the Glossy Mod Podge doesn't really feel tacky. Like sometimes it does when you just Mod Podge something. Then stir it 3 times. 1, 2, 3, and that's it. I know, you'll want to stir it more, but don't. And then you want to pour it out in kind of a zigzaggy motion onto your craft mat. Try to scrape all of that out. You don't want to overblend, because then you'll lose that marbled, kind of pretty marbled look that a lot of stained glass has. Like if you ever have done stained glass and you've bought the sheets, and then you can kind of you know, drag your stick through it a couple times. What I find works really well is actually kind of pouring it, kind of lifting, letting the mat, look at that, you get a really cool marbly look there. Now I was kind of inspired to do this also because of my glitter glue earring video. That did really well. People really enjoyed that. It was an affordable craft. A lot of kids could do it. So I wanted to do something similar to that. You can even kind of fold it a little bit if it doesn't feel like the stuff's flowing. And plus you'll get a really good spread of the glue this way. And you'll find that like the rough edges end up giving you really cool techniques and really cool looks, and also like the thicker glue in the middle ends up giving you really good looks too when you're working. So I try to do this so I don't have any holes, because sometimes if you scrape it, you'll get like little holes here and there, and you really don't want that. You could add glitter to this, or mica powder, or anything like that. You know, get like a little bit of a dichro glass look. But that looks pretty good. What I'm going to do is leave this. I'm going to set it somewhere. I'm not going to touch it, and it's going to take about 2 days to dry. So after it's dry, let me move this, and I'll show you what it's going to look like after it's dry. Of course, I'll just show you my other colors because I didn't have any of this color made before. But let me set this aside, and it'll come back to our dry one. So like a texture like I just did there, this is similar to what it's going to be. Like with the colors very separate and marbly. If you mix more, you'll get more of like a look like this, where the colors are more joined together. You don't have as much translucent areas and darker areas and lighter areas. So I just wanted to show you the difference so that you could make the glass or the faux stained glass that you want to make. All right, so for these little charms, they're really easy to make. This one I actually made into a pair of earrings. These are kind of big, but you can make them whatever size you want. I really like these little teardrops. So let's go through the process of making those. It's very easy. I used a die cutter to cut this shape. I didn't really like using the die cutter. It didn't work as well as cutting it by hand. So let me kind of show you what I did like using. I had these little shapelets back from 2001. I love these things. I've had them forever. I use these to trace my shapes onto some cardboard. So I'm going to shift this out of the way, get my cardboard. This is cardboard, just lightweight, if you can see the side, just pretty lightweight chipboard that that I got on like a package of scrapbook paper. Look at that. Making a mess here. Okay, and then what I did was I just used any of these templates. If you have like little cookie cutters, or even you just want to like print out some you know, pictures from the internet, it doesn't little shapes from the internet, it doesn't really matter. Just get a shape drawn onto your cardboard, and if you're making earrings, draw two at the same time so you make sure you get them the same size, or you can make one and then trace that one and draw the other one. Now I'm going to use some more of like utility style shears for this. Okay, and watch how easy it is to cut this out. I like the long blades because you get a really smooth cut. And I tried cutting this chipboard with my thin die cuts, and it really, you know, you can cut it, but it just seems to be just as easy to do it by hand. And I know not everybody has die cutters, so I just wanted to show you that. Now, you want to cover this with aluminum foil, or if you happen to have this stuff, I would use this. This is aluminum tape. This is by Inner Tape. You can get it at the hardware store. It's a few dollars a roll, and it's basically a self-adhesive aluminum foil, and it's pretty thick. So what I'm going to do here is put my shape down like that, and I do have another one cut out, so I'm just going to put that one right next to it, and then I'm going to put another piece right on top. Now, yeah, you could cover a strip of the cardboard with this and die cut it, but honestly, I think you conserve your materials a little bit better, and it's just as quick to do it this way. Stick that right on top, and then trim it off. Okay, then I just like to kind of smooth out the tape. It's not a huge deal, so if you're covering this with tin foil and you're getting wrinkles, don't worry about it. It's really not going to affect anything. I like to use like a bone folder or something to spread it out, and then you can clearly see your shapes, right? Okay, then you just need to cut them both out. I do like to press it down really good. It makes it a little easier to cut, and it covers up the edges, so you may not even want to do anything to the edges afterwards. So I like to cut them out with my more fine tip scissors. I'm just going to cut one out because, you know, you'll get the idea. I don't know if you can still get those little templates or not that I showed you, but if you have them in your stash, dig them out. They are so perfect for this. All right, now, oops, you know what? Look at that. Don't do that. I just cut my thumb. Hold on, I'm going to get a Band-Aid. I am such a bonehead. That's aluminum foil. It is sharp, this aluminum foil tape. What I did on the last ones, you take a bone folder and you fold this over. Oh my gosh, I can't. Well, you know what? I'm glad I did it, because then you guys won't do it, and I'll take one for the team. Okay, then you can feel it to make sure it's all burnished over and there's no sharp edges. There, doesn't that look great? Okay, so then what we're going to do is we're going to take some of our dried skins, and I think I'm just going to cut a few pieces off. Don't worry, you can save the scraps. The scraps are very useful for all sorts of things. And I'll show you how to make some little beads with them as well, using drinking straws. Super, super easy. And they kind of want to cling to each other. I wouldn't store them on top of each other, you know, for a long period of time if you don't get to use them. I think I'd put them in a file folder, and I'd put like sheets of wax paper between them so they don't stick to anything, because I think, you know, if you left them setting on top of each other, they might just stick. All right, I'm going to use Mod-Podge as my adhesive. That works really good. Just going to use a brush to apply it. You don't need to put a ton. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see this a little bit better. Just give it a coat. And the cool thing is you can actually make a design, or you can just kind of put them down willy-nilly. I think I'm going to do this in the middle. You'll notice one side, I used the glossy side of my silicone mat to give me a really nice glossy finish, but the top side will be glossy as well, no matter what you use for your base to make it on. So just keep that in mind. If you don't have a glossy mat, that's fine. I'm gonna set that there. Now for, you can make your own leading in between the colors, and it looks kind of cool. You can use, you just cut thin strips of this tape that I'm using, and I'll show you an example of that. This is done with thin strips of the tape, and these are done with the, with like a thin paint. This is the Magic Medium leading, which is still available actually. I was surprised because I've had this in my stash for a long time in the Magic Medium, and it was still working well, so that's good to know. But also something I've had really good luck with doing this in the past is I've used the Slick Dimensional Fabric Paint. I think it's by Tulip. It's in a little bottle, and it's got a fine tip, kind of like how your alcohol ink and your reinkers come in. That works great. It's like a buck a tube, and you can find that at any store that has fabric paint. I believe it's by Tulip. It's just those tiny little like 1 ounce bottles with a little fine tip applicator, and it's like a Slick Writer or Slick something. Can't remember what it's called, but it's right there with the fabric paint, so that works really well too. And that just gives you a little raised design, and here just little strips of the foil tape that we just used will give you a design like that. I did it on the back too, between those little pieces. So that's completely up to you what you want to do there. And then what I do is I just trim it right off, trim off the excess. And I do the back side, and I like to work on a silicone mat, but my silicone mat is very shiny, so I just don't want to have it kind of messing with the video right now. So work on a silicone mat or a piece of wax paper, or even like freezer paper. I think wax paper is probably the best if you don't have a silicone mat, and it's cheap. Everybody can find it pretty easily. And so then look at that. I mean, even if you don't do the leading, that looks pretty darn cool, I think. And you want to do the other side before you do the edges, and you can do a different design on the back. You can do the same. I think these are kind of big, but they're light, so you can use them for earrings, but they'd also be great for necklaces. You could put jump rings from side to side and connect them together that way, or you know, or dangle it, you know, from a necklace. You know, it's great way to make costume jewelry too, if you are if you need like something just for a specific event, but you don't really want to go out and buy anything. Great way to do it too. All right, use a little of this purple over here. And you can, if you do have, if your stained glass pieces are not as glossy as you want them, you can go right over it with a coat of Mod Podge. So I mean, it's pretty forgiving. Or you could use like that glitter, that fancy glitter nail polish that you can find in the dollar store now. That would be super pretty on top. It's just, you know, the sky's the limit. This is something fun. It's something fun for girls to do too. They can totally express themselves and make crazy jewelry, and you know, you don't have to worry about you know, the cost, because it's very inexpensive to make. So there we have both sides. Now I like to do the edges with some foil, and you can buy rolls of foil tape, but like the skinny stuff, but you can just, you know, trim some of the silver tape that we just used to cover the background down to like 1/4 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch, and then you can use that. And that's very economical because you already have it if you bought it to do this project. So that's probably what I would recommend. That way you're not, you know, stuck with whatever size you bought. You can cut it down to whatever size you need. So that would be my my advice. I do have copper tape from stained glass stuff, like real stained glass stuff. So I might use that too with some of the orangey skins that I've made. But that stuff has gotten quite expensive over the years, so this works pretty darn well. You're not really soldering it, so you don't need it to be copper, basically is what I'm getting at. It just needs to give you the look. Alright, so you fold down your edges. Whoops, I got a little too much on one side, so well, I'll deal with that later. I'm just showing you here. Obviously, spend some time, do a nice neat job at it. I want to get a little bit more of that tape right up along here. Just want you to get the basic idea of the techniques here, and then you can do whatever you want with it when you're working on your own project. I just want to make sure you know what to do, what not to do, you know. There's not really any rules, but, you know, don't cut yourself on the tape, obviously. And I do like to use the bone folder, or you could use like a plastic spoon or something if you don't have a bone folder, just to burnish it down, make sure it's stuck really well. You know, it's just cardboard under there, so we want to just do whatever we can to make it look nice and neat and tidy. Alright, so you can obviously cut thin strips like we did here and stick that down on the overlapping lines. That's pretty obvious, you know. Actually, I could even do that with one, just so basically I've cut this a little bit thinner and I just stick it down just like that. Okay, so that's a no-brainer. Or if you're going to use the liquid leading, I recommend that you maybe practice it on a scrap first, just so you kind of get the feel of how it goes. What you basically want to do is you want to kind of squirt it, and let me see, I'll show you right here. You kind of want to squirt it and then kind of lift up. You're kind of just letting it fall down on your surface, and it can be very tricky to get a fine line, and I typically wouldn't be holding it up, but I just wanted to. And you could actually do the leading first and then do this afterwards, like the next day after it's completely dry and not dentable anymore, but I wanted to be able to show you that step. So go ahead and do this one first if you want. I have it, my bottle is just like slightly elevated. You can wipe that right off the leading. I think this works a little bit better actually. And then when that's all dry, you can go ahead and do it on the other side. Now to finish up the earrings that I did here, I just used my crocodile punch right here. You could use, I mean, it's not really that hard to punch through, but I'm using my crocodile because it does handle thicker things. You could probably even like use an awl or something. Let me zoom out a little bit so you can see that a little bit better. To make a hole at the top and the bottom, and then I put an eyelet in there, and that's just your regular like scrapbooking or sewing eyelet. It's a single-sided one. Probably a double-sided one would be even better, because this looks great from the front, but on the back you see nothing, just the hole. I mean, it doesn't look bad, and you can see I didn't do any leading on the back. I just collaged my my skins, which brings me to another point. You could do this with tissue paper, and it would be really cool looking. Just give it a real thick coat of Mod Podge when you're done. So if you don't want to bother making the acrylic skins, you want a similar look, use tissue paper. Try that. It's totally fun as well. That's also fun to do, like cover mason jars with and stuff. So that's how I finished that. Added a little bead at the bottom. Now for these beads here, this is super easy. What you want to do is take a drinking straw, okay, and just cut, and I washed it. Actually, these were recycled. I was cleaning up my van. I know, how gross is that? But and I would cut the straws a little bit longer than what you want, and then take one of your skins here and wrap it around. Oh look, I got some leading on the end of that straw. My goodness, yeah, I'm gonna have to throw that paper away because I'm gonna make a mess here. Wrap it around till you've got it a little bit overlapped. Then I would snip it, and then just wrap it, kind of just wrap it really tight. Okay, and it kind of sticks to itself, although I would go over with a coat of Mod Podge when you're all done, and then you can snip off the extra glue, the extra straw that you have there. You can wrap it with like a scrap of another skin if you want. You can make short beads, long beads, whatever you want, but that's how you make the beads. Here on this one, I got a couple different kinds here. Like this one here, I actually took three strippy scraps, and I just wrapped it around a longer piece of straw. On this one, I just made a regular one, and then I took a long, thin strip of another color of skin, the blue, and just wrapped it around there. So these are fun. These could be covered with like a glitter nail polish, or even Mod Podge and glitter to give it a little bit extra oomph as well. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Let me know what you think. I will put a link to the glitter glue earrings in the video description. And again, you can do the same thing, just use Mod Podge and glitter and make some cool skins that way. It's a super versatile medium. I'm sure other PVA glues would work too. I'm just very partial to Mod Podge because I buy it by the gallon. It works really well for me, and I totally recommend it. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but I do really enjoy it. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, leave them in the video description, and until next time, happy crafting.